Our next speaker is Michael Locke. He's a vice president of Google Enterprises. Michael oversees the American Sales and Operations Organization for Google Enterprise Division. Since joining Google in 2005, Michael has helped rapidly expand Google's footprint within the global enterprise marketplace. Currently, he is responsible for teams driving customer acquisition on Google's enterprise offerings in the product areas of search, maps, Earth, apps, and Postini. A 25-year veteran of the enterprise information technology industry, Michael began his career at IBM, where he held roles in the General Systems and Enterprise Systems divisions. He moved to Silicon Valley as sales and marketing executive for Oracle in the 90s and subsequently took positions in several Silicon Valley startups. Michael played a pivotal role in the success and eventual acquisition of Virage, a pioneer of multimedia search and content management software. Would you please join me in giving a warm welcome to Michael Locke?
All right. We got to work on that bio. A little note to myself, work on that bio. First of all, if you've been in the business more than 25 years, you just say 20 years plus, don't you? You don't really want to, show you how old you are. But anyhow, so pleased to be here. Excited to be talking about really a whole bunch of exciting things that are here. So they asked me to come and talk about, they kind of gave me the topic. They said, tell us how mobile can revolutionize government. And I said, well, okay, I'm big into technology. I don't know about, I'm going to go with the word transform, here. And I want to talk, today about how mobile and cloud and a whole bunch of other things are all merging together, to create a brand new opportunity for us. But I'd like to start and talk about, the landscape that we're in, both commercially and in government-wise. It is tough out there. Anybody else feel like it's tough? I mean, I saw the secretary ask everybody, like, how many people in the public sector. I mean, it is tough in the public sector right now. And we're not just talking about in California, right? We're talking about, I just came back from a trip to Europe. I mean, we've got, Greece is bankrupt, Ireland is bankrupt. We got a few other, countries, kind of, teetering. Washington's, got a little bit of debt. We have a small problem here. 8%, 8.3% unemployment, worldwide or in the U.S. 11 here. This is a tough environment. Things are going to have to be different. And this is a slide of it. How tough is it in government? This is the federal government situation right now. Somebody sent me this. Actually, these numbers I don't think are exactly right, but this is kind of where we are in Washington. This should feel good about us in California. We got what, like a $28 billion problem? Here's what this says. We bring in about $2 trillion in taxes, a little over $2 trillion. We spend a little under $4 trillion. We add to our debt at about $1.6 trillion, each and every year. We got in Washington, we got $14 trillion in debt now. We're going to add about another 1.6, maybe 1.7, trillion to it, that's in there. Things are going to have to change. The bottom part of this says, if the federal government was a family, this is what it would look like. You'd get rid of all those zeros and you'd say, hey, if you'd be like a family making $21,000, spending $40, with $142,000 on your credit cards, right? Things are going to have to change, right? And we can't forget that. And like the secretary said, it's no good here to talk about technology, just like, how can technology help solve some of these fundamental problems that we have here? So this is it's a pretty bleak, here some days when you wake up here. But I work at Google. I live in California. I'm an optimist. I'm here to bring you good news. Anybody want some good news? I'll give you the bad news. Let's have some good news in here. So first of all, I'm going to tell you, in my lifetime, we've been here before. All right? Slide away. Everybody remember 1979? I know it's a younger crowd here, but there's a few people that remember 1979. Interest rates were 20%. People remember that? They were 20%, right? Unemployment was really high. We had the energy crisis. I was just entering business school in 1979. You know what they were teaching me? that the American century was over and that we had to study how Japanese do business, right? The Keiretsu, lifetime employment, Deming circles. People remember that? Like, we've been here. We were here in 1979. And frankly, in many ways, it was worse, right? And a lot of things happened. But the other picture I put beside this is a little thing started to happen. Well, 1979, what were we doing technology-wise? The advent of the personal computer. First with what Mr. Jobs and Mr. Wozniak, were doing at Apple, and then in 1981, this is the first IBM personal computer, right? And the productivity that personal computing drove, right, helped lift us out of the malaise that we were in. The tremendous amount of productivity that we got from not using mainframes, or frankly, in many cases, not using pencils and paper, like there, actually helped lift us. And we rode that wave for 30-odd years. And you go look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics productivity, numbers. It's like each and every year we had tremendous well, not each and every year, but we had tremendous productivity gains. But as we know, we're kind of wrung most of the innovation out of the PC era, didn't we? It's pretty much not a lot left. Yeah, that's there, But the good news is, there's another new wave of technologies that are coming that I believe can be more transformative than the technologies, than the productivity that was brought to us by personal computing. The statistics that you heard this morning, the mobile computing productivity statistics, the mobile computing wave is much bigger than the internet wave, much bigger than the PC wave. So if we mash all these things together, I'm firmly convinced if we do it right, we can lift ourselves out from where we are today. That's pretty good news, isn't it? Like, actually, I don't know if it's going to do 14 trillion worth. That seems like a lot, but, I'm telling you, these are big trends. All right, slides-wise. Next thing let's talk about these, it's a mobility conference. I'm going to talk about mobility, but I'm also going to talk about other trends that are happening and how they all mash together. So the secretary and the gentleman from Gartner, gave you the mobility stats. They're unfrickin' believable. It's the biggest trend we have ever seen in computing, much bigger than anything we've seen before. And I think we will outpace all the objectives. Just a year ago, I used to give this speech, and I'd say mobility will be bigger than PCs. It's pretty much here. There are about 1.4 billion PCs connected to the internet. There are now 1.2 billion mobile devices connected to the internet, right? And smartphones are growing at 75% worldwide, and tablets are growing at 300%. So I don't think it's actually going to take to 2013, 2014 before there are more mobile devices connected to the internet. Everybody predicts, and I think, again, we're going to blow past these things, there are going to be more than 10 billion devices, mobile devices connected to the internet. Well, how can that be? There's only 6.8 billion people. Well, wait, is anybody here carrying more than one mobile device? Right? Like, right? You got your tablet, you got your smartphone. Anybody got a gaming device at home which is connected to the internet? How about your television, right? Your car is going to be connected to the internet. 10 billion actually is a very conservative number about what we're going to see in mobility. We're going to have access to computing on all devices everywhere at all times. It's going to be very exciting. And oh, by the way, just we're in California, we're all worried about, hey, is the American century over? Has California lost its competitive edge? Well, let me say, where is the mobile revolution taking place, and where does it start, and what companies are driving it? A little company in Cupertino, California. Little company, little group called Android in Google in Mountain View, California, right? I mean, it's not like, people say, how California's lost its edge. Come on. The biggest trend, iOS and Android are made in our state. So things are good, right? Next big trend, social. There's 850 million Facebook users out there, right? They'll be at 1 billion soon. Google Plus, the Google social application, the fastest growing website in the history of the internet, now at around 90 million users that are there. Just watch your kids interact with social and you realize how big it is. We think this, what we call this the third wave of the internet. The first wave of the internet is we read the internet. We put newspapers and articles on that. The second wave of the internet was we did transactions. We paid our parking tickets. We ordered books. We did that stuff. The third wave is we connect to people. Online. Actually, I have a good story to tell here. I have a 13-year-old daughter. Her boyfriend lives in Grass Valley. Not too far. So it's actually not too bad an idea. Like, so she's really far away. But I said, how can you have a boyfriend who lives in Grass Valley? I live in San Mateo, California. You know, and she goes, well, she considers her to have a robust relationship, you know, online, right? She can talk to him. She's on Skype with him. She's texting with him. You know, relationships are getting built online, you know, in a very big way, right? And so mobile and then social. And okay, so where's the social revolution? Where are the companies driving that? Oh, Palo Alto, California. Things are not bad. Things are not bad in California, right? The third big trend we're talking about down in Silicon Valley is local, right? So you got, and the way the venture capitalists talk about this is so you can remember this is mobile, mo, social, so, local, low, mo, so, low. That's what John Doerr says, right? So, you know, so mo, so, low. The third one is local. Here's what's happening on the internet. The entire physical world is being recreated in a virtual environment. The entire physical world is going to be on the internet. We're trying to do all that. Think of what we're doing in Google Maps, right? Google Maps has started off like, hey, let's make a really good mapping product where the streets are really easy to recognize and understand, right? Oh, and then let's put satellite imagery, you know, on top of that. And then we said, oh, maybe we'll drive some cars around and we'll take pictures and we'll do this street view thing. Not without controversy. Not without controversy, right? But we're recreating the entire physical world. We're now trying to put all the world's businesses on top of that map, right? And we're not stopping there. We're going to go like, with permission, we want to go inside the buildings. Hey, if you want to make a reservation at the Marriott, I mean, what's good is seeing the front of the Marriott? You want to walk into the front. We'll stop the car at the front, and we'll put the little Google Trike on there, and we are going to document the entire physical world will be recreated in the virtual world. And all these things are mashing together. When you see the greatest mobile applications, and you're probably going to see some, you know, in there today, they tend to be all these things at once. They're not just mobile, they're not just social, they're not just local. But it's like, the fact that we're all walking around with a supercomputer in our pockets, right, that knows where we are and and can use that information to give us better information is really, really powerful, right? So you put all those things together and you say like, yeah, the PC was good, but mobile, social, local. And all this is built on top of, underneath that picture there is the cloud. I'm going to talk a bit about the cloud in a minute. But, you know, this idea now that we're building all these applications on massive supercomputers, which, oh, by the way, I don't know what the cloud really means, but let's say it this way. They're not on the physical locations where we used to put data centers. Right? You can indeed, all of California's best startups do not even own computers anymore. They're just running them on Google or Amazon Web Services. You know? Groupon? Groupon, what a tremendous, fabulous success story, right? It doesn't own any computers. Well, it owns desktops and that kind of stuff, but it doesn't own any servers, right? It just runs that on somebody else's infrastructure, right? We're moving into a world where, I mean, it's not going to happen overnight, but it's like, the state of California owns data centers. It has computers, you know, like servers. Why would it have that? Because these, you know, the cloud has emerged to offer really, really powerful, accessible, secure, cheap computing. You know, that's there. So like, these are all really good trends. And we're going to need this huge disruptive change because like $14 trillion is a lot of money to pay back, I think. You know, I think. Actually, you can't really grasp a trillion, but all right. What else we got here? So let me just talk about the cloud. We talked a bit about mobile. Now let me talk about the cloud. It is somewhat controversial when I talk to governments about this, because in the government, whether it's in Washington or here in Sacramento or everyone else, it's like, oh, the cloud is like it's risky. It's risky, you know. But let me tell you why the cloud wins over time. I'm not saying every single application is going to the cloud right away, but I'll tell you why the cloud wins over time, you know, real quickly. First of all, the cloud offers savings that are an order of magnitude greater than on-premise computing. An order of magnitude, that means like 1/10. Let me give you an example. We sell a product called Google Apps, and the centerpiece of that is Gmail, right? You know, there. When we introduced that product, the average company was paying about $500 per year for a mailbox, all landed in. we offered it for 50. We're not talking about 10% savings or 20% savings. We're talking about 90% savings, orders of magnitude. And why is that possible? Because the cloud offers massive, unbelievable scalability. That's there. I mean, how cheap is computing at Google? I mean, that's there. Like, any YouTube users out there? And video inside the government, inside the enterprise, is usually not that popular. Oh, it's expensive, costs a lot of money, you need disk storage, you need bandwidth. Here's what it's like on YouTube. You could upload as much video as you want, on there, as long as it's in about a 10-minute snippet. You can upload as much as you want. And you know how long we let you keep it there? Forever. We never erase it. It's more expensive to erase it, than it is, and manage that erasing, than it is to keep it up there. I mean, it's unbelievably inexpensive to run these massive data centers, that are there. To go back to the Gmail, like the state of California, that'd be one of the biggest, instances of email in the world, right? You got a lot of email users here. We have more than 300 million. Anybody who does that economies of scale stuff, our costs are going to be way lower, right? But that really undersells the benefits of the cloud. The other things that are going to come from the cloud that are here, the second bullet that's there, is really fast feature introduction. So the internet gives you, gives you the ability to get up-to-date software all the time. Like when you go to Amazon.com, you don't go, hey, do I have the latest version of Amazon.com? Hey, what version are you on of Amazon.com? Of course, you're just on version now, that's there. But the software world and the services, the software and hardware world doesn't allow you to do that. What version of SAP are you guys on, right? What version of, of Office are you on? It's just like this whole idea that you have to do these huge forklift upgrades and get far behind. The internet allows you to be constantly on the current version right away, right? Secondly, and this is a bit controversial, the cloud is more secure. The cloud is more secure than traditional client-server computing. Okay, there's people go like, yeah, tune this guy out now. Of course it's more secure. What are we going to do? We know, we have computer scientists in the room, we know that every single piece of software that we write is vulnerable, right? You can't make it, it's going to be vulnerable. So this idea when we did client-server, and we had this big argument back in 1991, 92, when we started to roll this out, is like, the more you distribute software, the more software you put out on more machines, the more vulnerable you are, right? That model has to go away. And of course, it's going away with the cloud so that we have almost no software, on devices, right? And then we can go back to just trying to protect the servers and what's behind the hardened firewall, that's there. It is going to be a much more secure environment today. I mean, think about the level of security issues we've had in the last 2 years, right? Have we suddenly got worse at computer security? I don't know, are there security people? I don't think we've got any worse. The bad guys have got better and more organized, right? And so, hey, if you're going to create crime, if you're going to create havoc in the world, frankly, if you're going to wage war, now you're going to do it in the cloud, that's there. So we've got to move. We're convinced at Google that we have to move away from this idea that we have thick clients out there because it's fundamentally, we're just not able to keep up with the security aspect of that, that's there. The average patch time in corporate America is 45 days. So when your vendor or you guys discover a security problem in your software, on average it takes you 45 days to patch it. And how insecure is our world today? Not only we announce to the world when we have a security vulnerability, and then hey, the following 10 security patches must be immediately applied. But since it takes 45 days to roll them out everywhere, the bad guys can go, oh, beautiful. Here are 10 unlocked doors. I mean, it's just an inherently insecure environment, and we're going to get past that. Fourth thing about the cloud and why the cloud wins in the long term is it does allow, and this just goes back to what we're talking about mobility, we're going to, because predominantly cloud-based applications are browser-based, any device with a browser is going to be able to access these things. Right? You're not going to have, like, in the old world, we said we kind of supported 2 devices, right? The Windows PC and the BlackBerry. That's as long as you had those, as long as you were supporting those 2 devices, that's it. But we know that's not the world we're headed into. Now we're headed into many, many different types of devices that are out there. Indeed, I would say is like, We're going to have to be in a world where the applications are predominantly HTML5 browser-based. It's going to take us a little while to get there, but that's where we're headed. That's there. Because we're not going to go like, I do email on my TV sometimes. There's not going to be Microsoft Outlook for Sony Bravia. Right? It's just got to run on a browser, that's there. And lastly, and I'm going to show some of these things if I don't talk for too long, there's new classes of applications. Because the cloud has such massive parallel computing power, you can actually create applications that were not possible before that's there. And I'll give you one example. Anybody use Google Translate? Which you can now do off your phone. I'll demo that. It's like almost science fiction. You talk to the phone in one language, and it comes out in the other. Why is that possible? It's possible today. We've been working on machine translation forever in the computing science world. But that's possible today because we're just capturing it on our phone, right, with a really great microphone, and then we're shooting it up to the cloud, and we're applying an unbelievable amount of computing power at that. Here's what we have at Google. We got a lot of computing power. So we can pound on that and make it, and then shoot it back to your phone, right? Those classes of applications are only available if you have massive, unbelievable computing power. So that's why the cloud is going to win. And where it has to tie back into all this is that if we're really going to have discontinuous change, if we're really going to dig ourselves out of this huge hole, right, we can't just have things that are 20%, 10% better. These things are going to be fundamentally better in the long term. So, mobile, social, local, and cloud, there's a lot to be optimistic about. And our challenge as enterprise professionals, enterprise technology professionals, as government technology professionals, is to take these trends and apply them as quickly as we can. In fact, it's kind of a crazy world. The best technology always used to be when you went to work, right? That isn't the case anymore. Most of these, great things that we're seeing in the consumer world, and they're being done at unbelievably low prices, that are there. Well, we have to figure out a way to apply all that we've learned in the consumer world into the government world, into the enterprise world. Otherwise, there's just no bridge in this damn gap. None at all. Okay. So next thing I want to talk about is it just does, we've actually been doing some work around this and working with some people at Harvard and some analysts to say that all these technology changes, along with general other business changes, are fundamentally changing how work is done. So, and why is this important? It's important because what we have to do, when you go look at these budget deficits and all these things, we have to do more with less. People say that all the time. It's so we have to fundamentally change the equation about how we do work, if we're actually going to progress. Right? So here are the big trends that we're seeing. First of all, we're moving. First trend number one is from working alone to working together. Okay, so when I've been in the business for a while. When I got in the business, when you went into the office, you went and there was a huge set of cubes. And what you really wanted was the cube with the highest walls. People remember that? Like, I want a real good cube. And then can I please get an office? Wait, why do you want a cube in an office? Because back in those days, you needed alone time so you could work and make your phone calls and concentrate on your own work by yourself, right? Well, now, go down to Silicon Valley. There ain't a lot of high cubes, right? We tore them all out. We throw them on the floor. We all just sit beside each other. Because working together, working as a team, is more important than working alone, right? To use a computer analogy here, what we used to do when the first wave of personal productivity tools came along, we said, hey, look at this Excel spreadsheet. It's fabulous. I'm going to sit here on my own personal computer. I'm going to do this by myself, and then I'm going to email it to somebody else who's then going to modify it and send it back to me, right? It was about working alone. Another example would be we were working in individual silos in our own personal departments. Only marketing only works with marketing. Sales only works with sales. Everything. People are now working together, right? Anybody here, let me say, is anybody here not part of some cross-functional project right now? Right? Everybody. So we work absolutely, together now. We don't work alone. And we can, when we do that, what we found, is that we're much, much more productive, in that world. Second big trend, anytime. We've gone from a 9-to-5 world to an anytime work. My wife likes to say, for people at Google, it's not anytime, it's all the time. And we do have to be careful about that. We do really have to be careful about this. But it really is time shifting, right? Anybody traditionally now like, what time does your office open at? I mean, you're the government. You probably have official opening times. I don't think we have an official opening time at Google. We certainly don't have an official closing time. And indeed, business is so global now. I'm often on the phone, or on a conference call or on a video conference with somebody in Asia at 2 a.m. Well, when I'm on a video call at 2 a.m. in Asia, guess what? I'm not coming to work at 8:30, right? And I don't expect my employees to do that, to do that. Increasingly, we're shifting. We got to work some on Saturdays. We got to work on some on Sundays. But it's also some good news here. I got 3 kids, right? I try almost never to miss a play or a parent-teacher meeting or a game. And now I can do that because they really don't know I'm out of the office when I'm doing that. They don't know that I'm actually approving purchase orders from the baseball field. I can do that now, right? It's just, you get in this debate with people about, hey, whether mobile devices are a ball and chain or whether they're freedom. For me, they're freedom, right? It enables me to kind of do all that stuff. The old days, you used to phone your boss up and say, hey, I've got to take a couple of hours off to go to the parent-teacher conference. I mean, I don't phone my boss off if I got to go there. And I know I'm going to be, when I drive to the school, I'm going to be on the phone the entire time. I'm going to go to the 30-minute meeting. I'm going to pop back out. I'm going to check all my email. We can work anytime we want now. Third big trend. So we talked about alone together, talked about anytime. Now I'm going to talk about anywhere. So I'd like to tell this story. Did you have, even 10 years ago, 5 years ago, you ever get those, you'd be talking with someone, they say, hey, I'm working from home. You know that? I used to say as a boss back in those days, working from home means generally not working. Didn't it? Yeah, I'm working from home today. Hey, it's funny you're doing that on a Friday now, isn't it? And it was true, and I never really liked it as a boss because we were so much less productive than we were at the office. What do you mean working from home? You don't really have all the information. You're not near the people. Now, when you're working from home, the technology allows you to be as productive as you were. I mean, you think about why the hell did we establish offices in the first place? You needed a central place where everybody could physically get together because there was no virtual meeting places, right? You had to go and meet with the people, that's there. First of all, most of the meeting I do with are people in different offices now, all across the country, all across the globe. So the people that I work with a lot aren't physically there. I used to have to go there because the files would be there. You younger people don't know about this, but there were these things called files, filing cabinets, paper, and you'd have to go and say, oh, let's look at the contracts or, whatever. Like, okay, guess what? All that stuff's digitized, that stuff there. Or we'd have to go, hey, if you're going to do a video conference, you have to go to the office because that was the only place with video conferencing, fax technology. Like, now, anybody can work from home or, frankly, from any Starbucks and be immensely productive, right? And that's what people want, and that's what we need them to do, right? All right. Then the last trend, that we're seeing in work that's different is now working on any device. And I think people have already belabored and talked about this in the presentations before me. But we are now moving into what people are calling the post-PC era, where the go-to device to do your work is no longer the PC. It used to be, hey, it was the PC. And before we had laptops being prevalent, again, you had to come to the office because your big, huge, tower-based PC was there, right? And if you didn't have that, you couldn't do a lot of work. We got laptops, so it was a little better. But now it's just like, I can be at the baseball park and be productive, right? Because this is a really powerful computer. And if this isn't a big enough screen, I can simply pop open I can go to my tablet. I can go to a simple laptop, that's there. But we're going to work on absolutely any device, that's there. So really big changes in how we work. And if we implement these mobile, social, local technologies, we are going to be able to enable a work environment that allows people to work on any team, at any time, right, in any place, on any device. And if we can do that, we can really have an impact on productivity. And in my mind, just the way the PC was, the technology enablers underneath this are usually the keys to productivity. So I think very, very exciting times. How am I doing on time? Not too bad. Okay. All right. So now with that, that's like the religion. Okay. And now hopefully it's some good news there. There. So let me tell you a bit about where Google fits into all this and how we might be able to help as a company. Indeed, we're not too far away. So first of all, let me talk about it. You can't be Google and come to a mobile conference. No, let me talk about what we're doing in mobile. Sometimes it's not that well understood. Android, it's this open source thing. Let me just kind of lay it out to you here. This on the left is what I call the mobile stack, right? At the bottom, and I don't know if this is the right representation, but on the bottom you have carriers, you have device manufacturers, you have people making platforms, you have a management layer on top of that, and then you have applications. So where's Google fit? The left, the first chart is like what we're doing at Google, and the right is the ecosystem we're trying to make that happen. So at the bottom, we're not a carrier. There was some worry that, hey, Google would be a carrier, but we work with over 200 carriers worldwide to make sure that our mobile devices and our mobile platforms and our mobile applications can work, on all these carriers. As a device manufacturer, we're not much of a device manufacturer. I used to say we're not a device manufacturer, but we got this little Motorola acquisition happening, which I guess would change the slide, to do that. But we work with 36 different OEMs, right? And we have 310 Android devices in the marketplace today. That's there. As a platform, obviously our play is Android. And now Android Ice Cream Sandwich, the most up-to-date, version of that. We're working hard on a management layer because these next, the management layer and the application layer are very important to enterprises, to here. So we have within Google Apps, if you're a Google Apps customer, we use Gmail, Calendar, all that kind of stuff, we embed mobile administration control and device management policy right into that application that's there. And we can manage Android devices and any active sync devices. And so, and obviously what you're seeing today is three popular devices that that are out there. We manage everything but Blackberries, which we manage through the BES. That's there. And then, of course, Google is a very big player in mobile application development. Indeed, we really changed the company about 2.5 years ago when we saw this big mobile trend coming. And we were like everybody else. We were writing applications for the PC internet. If you were in a product review meeting about Google Maps, they'd bring it up and they'd show it on the 17-inch screen. How's it going to look on that PC? Now that's, 2.5 years ago, we entirely flipped the company and said, how's it going to look on this screen, right? When the product manager needs to come in. So we are huge developers of mobile applications, and not just for Android. We're trying to make all of our applications work across all the mobile platforms that are there. Obviously, as an application developer, we're concentrated really on the two big platforms, the ones that are winning the day, Android and iOS, right? But don't forget, as an application developer, we are very, very, we will take all of our applications and make them available on any of the platforms that are winning platforms, that are there. Right now, that looks like to be 2. If there becomes a third one, we'll see where that goes. And each of the others, we also we understand that we're not an island here, and we're working with third parties, both on the management layer, with third-party management companies, and providing application development tools so that people can develop on Android, and a marketplace so that people can actually distribute their applications that are there. We do not yet have an enterprise application for Android that's there. Those are available through third parties, today. But that's where we fit. Does that make sense? How else can we help? Oops, sorry, I forgot about this thing. I thought, the Android guys made me make sure that this is kind of like Android wasn't enterprise ready a little while ago. So this is it's hard to read this, but if you go back here to 2.1 Eclair, these guys, they name them by desserts, and stuff. But that was 2009. You can see we didn't have very many enterprise features, right? Now with 4.0 and Ice Cream Sandwich coming to there, we pretty much have almost all the major things that you need in enterprise security, including full device encryption, the ability to use secure networking. We've even started to in the last version, be able to give you hardware control. That's out there. Used to have a banking customer said, we can't use Android phones there because we can't turn the cameras off. Which I always thought was an interesting security piece anyways. But, we put a lot of enterprise features in the last way. And with Ice Cream Sandwich, I think we've finally, turned the corner. And certainly the analysts are saying that these devices can meet the requirements of the CISOs all across the United States. All right, what else do we have to offer here? How else can we help? The other place that we fit, so other than Android here, is that to enable this working in the future, today, we have the centerpiece of our product offering is an offering called Google Apps. right? This whole idea that, and so, email systems, calendar, mobile documents, mobile site building, social applications, video-based applications, all born in the cloud, accessible from anywhere, running on any device at a fraction of the cost of traditional on-site computing. That's the centerpiece, actually, of our enterprise enterprise offering, right? Designed to work with that. We also have, I talked a bit on the left-hand side about devices. Not only do we have a big play in Android, but we have this, we have a very robust investment in our browser, Chrome, and its close sister, the Chromebook. So what we believe is that in order to make this happen, you have to have a really high-performance, secure, reliable access device, that browser, that's there. And we weren't all the way getting there, but Chrome now with 20% share is picking up share, and we do think that the time is coming, where we introduce this product called the Chromebook, which you can simply then use that is nothing but a browser, a piece of hardware without a significant hard drive on it that is nothing but a browser, nothing but something connected to the internet, that's there. So that's another area where we're helping. And on the right-hand side is the platform. So we have a product that we call Google App Engine and a Google Storage product, so that if you want to write applications, then write them on a really massive, inexpensive, computing architecture, you can now take applications and write them on our infrastructure, that's there, and run them there, all pieces. So if we can tie all these things together, Android, access devices, a very robust Office, set of applications, and a computing platform that will enable governments and enterprises to write their own applications, we think we can help you get there. It's kind of what we're trying to do. All right, and if we do that, then that's where we're going to go. I'm running a little over time, so I'm going to skip the demos that I was planning. I'm happy to do them afterwards that are on there. But we've had a lot of success in government. And I think it surprised us a bit because it hasn't always been, I think I'm going to say this with all due respect, whether it's Washington or global governments or US governments, not always been the first movers of adopting new technologies, whether it be cloud or mobile. But I think the situation is such that we've actually seen the government be first movers in a lot of these cloud and mobile-based technologies. So on Google Apps, we now have more than 4 million businesses on here, and we include that all the government and educational organizations there. We have more than 40 million users with 5,000 signing up every day, right? And we're very proud of the education and government customers that have taken the first leap to there. It almost shocks me that we've had tremendous success in Washington. When we launched cloud-based services, I thought the last place we'll be successful in Washington. Indeed, what we see now out of this administration is a cloud-first policy. I just about fell off my chair. So wait a sec. If they're rolling out a new application, the policy of this administration is that you should first look at doing it in the cloud before you do anything else. Because we have 2,300 federal data centers. That's not too good, right? So we've had tremendous success in government, and I think the time is right. And I think government, and if we can't do it in California, where the heck, can we do it? So let me finish here with a video from one of our customers. So I think we have to roll the video.
Lake Havasu City is a city of approximately 52,000 people located on the Colorado River. It's also home to the world-famous London Bridge. Our mission at the Lake Havasu City Police Department is very simple. It's to ensure a safe and secure community.
As operations captain, I'm responsible for our uniformed sworn positions. We're always looking to improve our internal communications. I remember working graveyard shifts and having the feeling that I never knew quite everything that was going on with the department. I came up with the idea of the water coolers so that we could provide all the employees an opportunity to give us feedback, to ask questions, and to hear from the command staff on what the goals and objectives of the department are.
It gives the opportunity for our command and supervisory staff to directly give us information that we might otherwise hear word of mouth.
We started the site with several topics to get the conversation rolling,
but we found that officers have taken interest and they're participating and coming up with their own unique suggestions. We had an officer who was responding to a call in a gated community and had a little bit of difficulty obtaining the gate code. After the call, the officer had an idea on how we could more efficiently get those codes out to the field utilizing Google Apps. He got onto the water cooler site and made his suggestion, and we're going to be taking him up on it. Fortunately, it's real time and it's not dependent on the officers being in the station. Officers can check either their mobile data computers in the cars or utilize their smartphones to get onto the water cooler no matter where they are or what time of the day it is. I'm a police officer. I don't have a background in IT, but I found that getting onto Google Apps and creating a site was very easy.
Always good to hear from the customers. What I particularly love about that video, and of the many government videos we have, I decided to show it, was it's not a video from IT people. So I actually have a whole raft of videos from IT people and CIOs telling me this is what they did and stuff. But this is like, the power of this technology is that, in that example, is that here's a police captain who said, I can do things better, right? And I'm smart enough and savvy enough because of consumer-based technology that I know there's better ways to do it, and he went and did it himself. If we're going to emerge from where we are now, we are going to move from a paradigm of IT, where IT is the gatekeeper and the sole provider and sole idea generator of new technology things, where the end users are pulling these things in. And you're going to see more and more stories that say, I know how to do this, I want these tools, I want these technologies, and they're going to do it themselves. One of the things I love about mobile is even when you give mobile devices out, the support costs for mobile devices are much lower than they are for PCs. And I think it's somewhat to do with the fact that people are just more educated about them, but it's just a different paradigm. Like you expect, if your PC's not working, you say, where the hell is the support desk? Where do I phone? What's the service level? All that kind of stuff. But I've never seen anybody say, hey, my phone's not kind of working. I think I'll phone the support desk, right? People know how to handle this stuff, and they know how to make stuff work. And if we think this is the case now of what an end user is there, wait to the new generation of workers that are just coming in, are going to demand and what they're going to be willing to do to help IT. So let me leave you with this message. We are in very, very exciting times. I know that, sometimes I wake up and look at the macro picture and go, my God, how are we ever going to do it? But I truly believe that in Silicon Valley, in California, the heart of innovation, we are going to be the engine that drives productivity and takes us to this next level. I'm very excited. And if we at Google can help in Sacramento and the state of California, we would love to do so. Thanks very much for your time.